the ice bucket, fill it with ice, get it cold. I wanted to be hospitable when Mr. Kelley arrived. Offer him an ice cold beverage. I had no idea what this man was going to do. Would he come in the room? Would he look at me and say, no, I'm not talking to you, and walk away? Or would he attack me or whatever? In any event, I was going to be hospitable and say, would you care for a cold beverage? So she set it on the dresser. And the way the room happened to be, if you were standing in the hallway right there by the door, looking into the room, you cannot see who's in the room. You have to walk into the room, turn to your right, and go around the corner, and the room is like laid out back there. As soon as you walk in the door, there's a wall right there, and the bathroom right here. So you'd go around the wall, and then you see the room. It just happens to be how it was designed. So I took advantage of that. I took the little lamp table, and took the lamp off, and put it over here in the far corner of the room. Lamp table, no bigger than that thing. Okay?
Right.
And because, they don't have big tables in hotel rooms, right? Just like that.
Yeah.
I put a chair on one side and a chair on the other side, one for me, one for him. And I'm in the most obscure corner of the room, so you don't see me until you come halfway into my room. And I had a black canvas bag by my chair in which I had a cassette recorder. I put it in the middle of the table, all in hopes that he would come in the room and he would allow me to record our interview. And I had some blank cassettes, and I had a copy of the Bible, because the Ku-Klux Klan claims to be a Christian organization. They claim that the Bible preaches racial separation. Now, in my reading of the Bible, I've never seen that in there. So I wanted to be able to, pull out my Bible and say, here, Mr. Kelley, please, show me chapter and verse where it says blacks and whites must be separate. So I'm all prepared, right? Right on time, 5:15 was the time. Mary hops up and runs around the corner to open the door. I'm seated at my table where you can't see me until you come in the room. She opens the door, and in walks the Grand Nighthawk. Nighthawk means bodyguard, security. So a Grand Nighthawk, I'll teach you all the names.
That's hilarious.
A Grand Nighthawk is the bodyguard to the Grand Dragon. An Imperial Nighthawk would be the bodyguard to the Imperial Wizard.
Okay.
So in walks this Grand Nighthawk. He's wearing military camouflage with that Ku Klux Klan patch right here, that red circle, white cross, blood drop. Over here are the letters KKK. And embroidered on his beret said Knights of the Ku Klux Klan. And he has a semi-automatic handgun in his holster right here. He comes in, and Mr. Kelley is walking directly behind him in a dark blue suit and tie and carrying a briefcase. Well, the Nighthawk turned the corner and saw me and just froze, stopped dead in his tracks. And Mr. Kelley did not realize that his guy had stopped short and slammed into his back and knocked him forward. So now they both are stumbling around trying to, regain their balance. And they're like looking all around the room, in the bathroom, And I'm just sitting there at the table, like, looking at them.
They think they're being set up.
Yeah. I could read their faces. They were thinking, did we misunderstand the room number from the desk clerk? Or is this an ambush? And so I realized that apprehension. So I stood up and I displayed my palms, in order to say, I don't have anything on me, And I walked forward. I said, hi, Mr. Kelley, I'm Daryl Davis. And he shook my hand. And the Nighthawk shook my hand. I said, come on in, please, come on in. They came in. I said, have a seat, Mr. Kelley. And he sat down, and the Nighthawk stood at attention to his right. And before I could sit down, Mr. Kelley says, Mr. Davis, do you have any form of identification? I said, sure. I gave him my driver's license. He goes, oh, you live on such and such street in Silver Spring. Well, no, that had me concerned. Why is he looking at my street address? Is he going to come burn a cross on my lawn or what? All he needs to do is look at my picture, look at my name, match it up to me, and give me back my license. Here he is reciting my street, right? I wasn't quite sure how to handle that, and because that had unnerved me a little bit.
He was trying to threaten you or something.
Well, I didn't know. Why is he calling off my street? And so I said to him, yes, Mr. Kelley. I said, that is where I live. I said, and you live at, and I named his house number and his street. That way he knew that I knew where he lived too.
Whoa.
So I'm leveling the playing field.
Yep.
If you come visit me, I'm going to come visit you. So he smiled, he nodded his head like he understood. Now, I did not find out that day. It was many, many months later that I had been presumptuous. I had no reason to fear Mr. Kelley coming to my house.
Right.
What it was one of his members, I didn't even know this at the time, one of his members lived right down the road from me. and Mr. Kelley would have to travel down my street because my street goes through my neighborhood and goes 2 neighborhoods over where this other guy lived. So Mr. Kelley recognized my street, that's all. So it's a long street that runs down there.
Wow.
So, and he lives like an hour and a half from me, Mr. Kelley does. But he has members all around, you know.
Is he still alive?
Mr. Kelley?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So anyway, he recognized the street name. Now today, that same member is in a federal prison. He is there for a long time for committing a hate crime. So that would happen later. Anyway, we got on with this interview, and you know, he would make statements that were biblical or whatever. If you know, when he did, I'd reach down to pull out my Bible to make him prove it. And if my cassette ran out of tape, I'd reach down and get a fresh cassette. You know, every time I reached like this, the Nighthawk reached like this. And but that's his job. You know, he has no idea what's in my bag. You know, he doesn't know me. I'm the enemy. And so
every time you reach down to grab a cassette out of your bag,
he's reaching up.
He'd reach up for his gun.
Yeah. Now, he never pulled it, but he put his hand on the butt of the gun.
Okay.
Right? So he's doing his job. I mean, that's his job, to protect his boss. He doesn't know me. He has no idea what's in my bag. Well, after a while or so, he realized, you know, there was nothing threatening in the bag, and he relaxed.
Okay.
And I went in and out of the bag. He didn't move. All right? A little over an hour into this interview, we were just talking like you and I are right now, and out of nowhere, this random noise happened. It was very short but very fast. I got, shh. That was it. That was it. And, you know, I flew out of my chair, and I hit the table. And we all jumped. But it happened so fast and was so short that my ear could not discern what it was, you know? But I knew that Mr. Kelley had made the noise. And how did I know that? Because I didn't make it. So process of elimination. If I didn't do it, he had to have done it, right? And because I couldn't figure out what it was, I perceived it to be an ominous, threatening noise. And understand, you know, the tension. I'm a black guy, he's the head of the Klan, you know, and we're sitting here in this room. I've already been told by some former Klansman, he would kill me, not to fool with him. So, you know, I'm on high alert. And now he's making some weird noise for no reason. So I feared for my life. I had gone into what you call survival mode. And when you go into survival mode, people will generally do one of 4 things. Some people, they will just pass out, they'll faint. Because the fear is so great, their brain cannot process it and just shuts down, they pass out, right? It's like somebody saw a ghost and they faint. You know, they can't process that. Another thing people will do is their muscles will tighten up and they'll constrict, and they can't move. They're like this. You ever see anybody get into a fight and they curl up into a fetal ball, and people can be hitting them and kicking them, and they're not even deflecting the blows. They're like this because their muscles have become paralyzed. That's called paralysis by fear. They just constrict. I don't do that either. The third thing that people will have an option to do is to run away, you know, which is the best option. It's the option that I would have taken had it been available. As quickly as you can, separate yourself from the source of the fear, all right? Run away, or put as much distance between yourself and the fear as you can, as quickly as you can. That was not an option for me because how am I going to outrun a bullet in a motel room? I'm not armed. Mary is not armed. The only person who I know for sure is armed is the Nighthawk. I can see his gun on his hip. I did not know if Mr. Kelley had a weapon up under his suit jacket or not. So the next option you have is to do a preemptive strike. Get them before they get you. And that's what I was about to do. When I came out of my chair, I was going to dive across the table, grab the Nighthawk, grab Mr. Kelley, and slam them down to the ground and take away the Nighthawk's gun.
Jesus.
To immobilize. Well, I didn't want to die that day. You're in survival mode. Yeah. You will do whatever you have to do to survive. And it's my job to protect me and protect my secretary. Like it's the Nighthawk's job to protect himself and his boss. So I was going to, immobilize, the situation. But when I hit the table, I was looking right into Mr. Kelley's eyes. And I didn't say a word to him, but my eyes were speaking loud and clear. My eyes were saying to him, and I knew he could read my eyes, were saying to him, "What did you just do?" But the thing was, his eyes had fixated on mine, and I could read his eyes too. And his eyes were saying to me, what did you just do? And the Nighthawk, he's standing there like this, looking back and forth between both of us like, what did either one of y'all just do? Right? So Mary was sitting to my left on top of the dresser because there were no more chairs. And she realized what had happened, and she began explaining it when it happened again. The ice in the ice bucket had begun melting, and the cans of soda were shifting down the ice.
Oh, my God.
That was it. How ridiculous is that? Somebody almost got shot over a damn ice cube. Seriously. That's how crazy it was,
The
all right?
tension was that thick
It was
in the
that
room
thick.
the whole
Yeah.
time, even
Yeah.
after an hour of
Yeah.
talking.
Yeah. And because of that random noise, okay? But there was a lesson learned here. Well, I'll put it this way. It wasn't learned at that moment. It was taught at that moment, be learned later, okay? But, we all began laughing when she began explaining it.
Right.
And we were laughing at how ignorant we all had been, which in a sense made us all human beings. Yeah, he's in the Klan, I'm a black guy, but we're human beings. We're laughing at the same stupidity and same ignorance that we all experience. We all experience fear. We all experience that ignorance, and we all experience laughter, all in the same moments, right? So we humanize one another in that sense. So the lesson taught is this: ignorance breeds fear. All right, all because some foreign, and underscore, highlight, circle the word foreign, entity of which we were ignorant, that being the bucket of ice, cans of soda, had entered into our little comfort zone via the noise that it made. We became fearful of each other. Okay, we knew the bucket was over there, but we'd long forgotten about it.
Right.
So we were ignorant to it, and it made its presence known by making some weird noise that we didn't understand. So ignorance breeds fear. We fear those things we don't understand, and we didn't understand what that noise was, so we feared it. If you don't keep that fear in check, that fear will escalate and breed hatred, because we hate the things that frighten us. If you don't keep that hatred in check, that will escalate into anger and then breed destruction. We want to destroy the things that we get angry about and hate. And why do we hate them? Because they frighten us. But guess what? At the end of the day, they may have been harmless and we were just ignorant. So ignorance breeds fear, fear breeds hatred, hatred breeds destruction. And we saw the whole chain almost unravel to completion, the last component being destruction. It stopped just short of that. Had the Nighthawk pulled out his gun and shot somebody, namely me or my secretary, doing his job, or had I pounced across the table and hurt one of them doing my job.